Welcome along to another edition of Matchbook's Weekend Football Podcast. We're minus one person this week. Adrian Clark is away, and Mark O'Hare is back on board. Now, I will give you guys a small bit of warning. Mark is struggling through a bit of a cold, so we're going to get through this pretty quick. And if you hear him a bit hoarse, that is the reason. He hasn't been out in the beer on a Wednesday night, Mark, just to confirm that. He's nodding away there if you're listening to the podcast. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, not very much not in the beer, exactly. With a small newborn child, he's very much not in the beer on a Wednesday night. Mark, interesting couple of days gone. Obviously, we saw Manchester United lose 4-0. And you know what? We were way ahead of the case on this. Even when they were good last season, we saw defaults. But Liverpool, obviously, look, they're in line for pretty much, this prestigious quadruple. Not too far off, obviously the biggest price is on the league. I'm just looking through the price. We have it on matchbook.com at the moment at 11.0. And I'm looking at it elsewhere, and best price is 10.83 with SBK, Boyle Sports 9.53, Sky Bet 9.26. 11.0, Mark. Look, obviously there's a whole lot more football to be played. Fair price for you, or was it something that you'll just go, no interest, don't want to know?
Kind of in between the two. I think if you do want to have an interest, it's obviously something that's going to keep you interested until the end of the season. But I think in terms of pure value, it's probably still slightly too short for me. They are going to be underdogs if they reach the Champions League final, and Man City are their opponents. They are underdogs to win the Premier League as well. So, you've got to bear that in mind. Are City going to drop points in the next 6 games? You look at the schedule, you can't really see it happening too often. But at the end of the day, I genuinely believe Liverpool are as good, if not slightly better, than Man City right now. I said it a couple of weeks ago, and the market disagrees. But if that's your thing, it's a big price to cheer on. Something quite historic, something to remember it by. But it's not really for me. I think the modelers have put the prospect of it all coming together around about a 9% chance. So it's still slightly too short. But you never know.
You never know. Absolutely. Look, it's going to be interesting. I do agree with your point about Liverpool just being slightly better than City. And obviously, look, they got to get through Villarreal and Unai Emery and the game plan that he will enforce over 2 legs. If you guys do want to get involved, I know a lot of people were asking us over the weekend if we were going to get a price up on this. We have done 11.0. And if you haven't got a Matchbook account, you want to get involved specifically on that one, you can use our £30 welcome offer, and you can use the bonus code INSIGHTS30, INSIGHTS30 when signing up. So you could put 30 quid at 11.0 to win £300. And if that loses, you get your money back anyway. So use the bonus code INSIGHTS30 when signing up, and full terms and conditions can be found at insights.matchbook.com, as will a recap of the selections that we have today. So obviously with no AC aboard, we're going to cover, we're going to make this a slightly quicker experience for all of you. We're going to cover 4 Premier League games. One of those is best bets from Mark, and we're also going to do their Klassiker, Bayern against Dortmund in Germany. So let's kick things off. The early kickoff on Saturday, Arsenal versus Manchester United. Let's take a look at the betting as we have it at matchbook.com. The Gunners here are 2.16, fresh from that big 4-2 win at the Bridge on Wednesday night. Manchester United at 3.75, the draw available at 3.6. United getting a half a goal start at 1.83. That keeps the draw on site if you fancy the Red Devils to actually get a point in North London, and 2.5 is the total. And it's slightly shaded towards the over. And yeah, Mark, look, that was the first thing that jumped off my page. I'm glad that you are coming with me on this one, or I'm kind of coming with you on this one more likely. Over 2.5 is the bet here at 1.9. Goals expected, and you expect a few of them.
Yeah, I think so, just because of what's at stake here. Man United, it's probably, I wouldn't say it's a last chance saloon, but it's a fantastic opportunity to get themselves back into the race for the top 4. Arsenal off that really surprise win at Chelsea, although after seeing the team sheets, I probably saw that Chelsea without Rudiger and Lukaku coming back into the team, a remodeled defence, it didn't look quite right, and some of the errors and the goals they gave away were quite alarming, really, from a Chelsea perspective. But Arsenal were there, took their opportunities, and deservedly won the match. So, it's a massive match of both. If I had an option to back either of these teams, it would be neither, just because I think Arsenal bounced back very well from their horror start in August. But just as I was starting to rate them pretty highly, injuries struck, and it's only 2 players, but Tierney and Partey just are so influential in what they do, particularly Partey. And if you look at the statistics, Arsenal's win rate drops when he's missing, their loss rate increases, the goals rate goes down, and their conceding rate goes up. So they've tried, Xhaka at left back to cover Tierney. Tavares hasn't looked fantastic there either. But if Xhaka goes back to left back, then suddenly they're missing his influence in midfield as well. So it's hard to have a huge amount of faith in Arsenal, and I think recency bias, just warns me off them a little bit after what happened in midweek. And yeah, I mean, what can you say about United after what they did at Old Trafford? It's kind of been said before, hasn't it? So I won't go over
it's getting a bit boring.
really,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think the more worrying aspect from a United perspective was last weekend when Norwich had 15 shots at Old Trafford and won the expected goals battle at Old Trafford. That'd be more worrying to me than sort of the no-show at Anfield. So, yeah, defensively, neither of these two teams have been covering themselves in glory recently. United's midfield has looked thin, looked short because they're missing key players as well. I think McTominay is back in the fold at least, but they've only kept 3 clean sheets away from home in the Premier League this season. So little to no faith in them either. Yep. So, yeah, it just leaves with goals, really. And I think considering what's at stake, Arsenal have only kept 3 clean sheets in the last 10 at home as well. The reverse, of course, with a 3-2 thriller as well. Both teams have plenty to play for. I think both teams to score is a strong shout, but the bigger price over 2.5 goals does interest.
Yeah, it's amazing what one win does too for Arsenal. Obviously, coming off those 3, pretty brutal enough losses, just totally out of character for a team in form. They win then on Wednesday night. That price, of course, goes off 2.16. Amazing recency bias really does matter in these markets. All right, the selection is over 2.5 goals at the Emirates on Saturday afternoon. It's 1.9 currently at Matchbook as we're recording on Thursday morning. We move on to the Merseyside derby on Sunday. Liverpool against Everton. Let's take a look at the betting as we have it at matchbook.com. I'm shocked. Liverpool 1.21, shocking. Everton is 16.5, and the rest, Mark. If you want 20, you want 25s, you come see me, man. The draw available is 7.8. The main handicap line, Everton getting a 2-goal start at 1.9. 3 3.25 is the goal line. It's a high goal line, but like we're expecting Liverpool, even with possibly a weakened side looking ahead to Villarreal, to kind of blow them away here. It's just a really interesting stat I saw this morning, Mark. 7 home games for Liverpool in 2022. 21 goals scored, 1 conceded. Liverpool, it's got to be them. But how do we get them on side in this one, Mark?
Yeah, it's good you mentioned that point, because I don't think it's being talked about enough really with Liverpool. We're so kind of biased towards the Liverpool front line. Whoever's playing in that front 3, so many options that we kind of miss the fact that they're defensively been superb this calendar year. And I think the only saving grace for Everton coming into this game is the match against Villarreal for Liverpool, which is on Wednesday, so a Sunday to Wednesday turnaround. It is at Anfield, but Klopp has been rotating his team pretty well recently. Key players, he's keeping them fresh and fit. So that's really the only bright spark I have for Everton is Liverpool might be slightly distracted, but ultimately the big prize is the Premier League. So they're going to go hell for leather to get the results, but at least in the first hour, and they can easily kind of wind down thereafter. But yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to be positive about Everton. They've 5 of their 6 points. They've got the worst record away from home in the league, but 5 of their 6 points came in the opening 4 away games. So since October's international break, they've picked up 1 point from 11 away Premier League games, which is just awful, really. 17 defeats from 24 in that sequence, if you include home games. They picked up the fewest number of points in that spell, scored the fewest goals. They've conceded twice more in their last 6 away. They've lost every away game under Lampard, and now they're facing the best attack in the league. So, yeah, I mean, I'll take it a bit further. Liverpool's record since mid-January is 34 points from 36, and they've conceded just 4 goals in those 12 league games, 2 of which were against Man City. So, you look at their Anfield record, 9 of their 11 wins included clean sheets. Across the whole campaign, 19 of their 23 league wins have come alongside clean sheets. No team has kept more clean sheets than Liverpool this season, 19. Everton has scored 2 goals in the last 6 derbies and failed to score in 6 of 9 as well. So it's pretty dull. It's pretty stats heavy, but Liverpool to win to 0 or Liverpool and BTTS no is 2.02. And, the stats and trends are overwhelming in your favour there. So, yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's not only just that, it's just Everton is so bad and where they're going to get those goals. And as we said 4 weeks ago with Adrian, we're still waiting for the Lampard effect. I think we're actually seeing the Lampard effect. It's not just a great effect. That's the problem there. And
also, Calvert-Lewin's missing as well.
Yes, fair point. Yeah, all right. So 2.02 is that price, Mark, right? Yeah, so this looks a pretty good one. All right, we move on. Brentford versus Tottenham. 2 teams in good form here, Mark. Was this your game of choice here in terms of the Premier League? Brentford 4.3, Tottenham at 1.98. Slight drift on Spurs there this morning. The draw available at 3.75. Brentford getting a half a goal start at 1.94, and 2.5 is the total. Mark, you looked at Tottenham there last week, even that lost to Brighton. They're similar to Arsenal. They're a pretty infuriating team in terms of consistency. But Brentford have been in really good form here, and you expect them to get on the score sheet as you do Tottenham, so both teams to score is your selection.
Yeah, I mean, no two games are similar, particularly in Tottenham's sort of copybook. So I don't expect them to be quite as limp as they were against Brighton last week, and Conte was understandably quite confused and disappointed by it. But I do expect a reaction here, and they have been the best team outside of Liverpool and City since he was appointed in terms of points earned and expected goals process. We've talked about the improvements that they've made since January with the new players coming in. But I think Adrian's talked about it a few times. Just defensively, there still is a couple of question marks over individuals rather than the sort of collective, really. Eric Dyer has impressed me. Romero has impressed me, but I still think they're sort of capable of making mistakes to teams when they're probably a little bit complacent, really. And I think Brentford will give them a game here. Ultimately, you expect Spurs to score. Of course you do with the firepower they have. Brentford have only kept 5 clean sheets in 31 going back to August. You could say they're on the beach. I don't think they are. Thomas Frank was talking last week about finishing in the top half would be such a huge achievement for a club of their stature with the lowest budget in the league. So I do think they're not downing tools. They're really trying to go to the end of the campaign. And they're performing really well recently. They're scoring goals, winning matches. Christian Eriksen's made a difference. They've got a threat from set pieces. They've got the ability to go long to Tony as well. Plus now the craft of Eriksen as well. So obviously man for man, Spurs are the better team. But when I looked at this game first on Wednesday, they did look a little bit too short to me. So I had to sort of search around for something different. And that's where both teams to score came in. And I thought 1.8 or above was perfectly reasonable. Spurs have scored 3 goals or more in 6 of the last 11 now. They're the top goal scorers this calendar year in the Premier League, but they've only managed 2 clean sheets away from home against teams outside of the bottom 6. And Brentford are, as I say, sort of gunning for a top half finish at the minute. And at home, London derby, they'll be up for it. So I thought both teams to score was reasonable.
What kind of price we're looking at there, Mark? It's coming up on the screen, 1.8, right? Like both teams to score in Brentford versus Tottenham. We move on to Germany. Bundesliga Nummer 10 for Bayern. It's on the way, Mark. And you expect it. You love that. That was 2 years of German in school there, man. Bayern of home to Dortmund. We've seen this one before, 1.41. Dortmund is 7.6. The draw available at 6.0. Dortmund are getting a goal and a half starting the main Asian handicap line at 1.98, and 4 is the total. This is the reason in these Bayern and Dortmund games, Mark, anybody back in the under is off their head, in my opinion, because it's just a terrible watch, especially now that both these teams defensively, like you can make the case too, Mark, that Bayern, look, going for the 10th Bundesliga, but defensively they've been in shambles the last couple of weeks. You fancy them to get the job done here, but you also fancy Dortmund to score. Yeah,
this was quite a straightforward one for me, I think. Because the gap between the two in the league in terms of points is 9 points, but the reality is the gap is much, much bigger despite Bayern's recent issues, and there's plenty of off-field sort of issues going around the club at the minute as well with players' contracts. But they are operating off a 73% expected goals ratio in the Bundesliga, which means on a per-game basis, they're 1.9 expected goals better than their opponents on average, which is outrageous, really. And compare it with Dortmund to a plus 0.48 per game. It's a huge disparity. So, Bayern responded to the Champions League with a routine win against Bielefeld last week. But what I like about them is just their ability to turn up on the big occasion domestically. If you look at their record against the top half this season, they're unbeaten in 14. They've won 12 of those, and they've scored 3 goals and more in 10 of those as well. So they've scored 16 goals in 5 games against Dortmund, Leipzig, and Leverkusen, the 3 best teams outside of them. So as well, another thing I like about Bayern this week, full midweek to prepare and rest, a full squad available as well. It doesn't happen often for Bayern, but it does make a difference, I think. And they're coming up against a Dortmund team who don't normally need an invitation to give you a couple of goals. They've lost 4 or 5 against the top 4, absolutely shredded by Leipzig and Leverkusen at home in recent weeks. They've conceded 17 against Bayern, Leipzig and Leverkusen this season. That defence against a rested, motivated Bayern with the title at stake here, to me, spells kind of one-way traffic here. So, you mentioned Bayern's defence, 5 clean sheets now in 17 this calendar year across all comps. But the Bayern to win and both teams to score has copped in the last 5 head-to-heads. And it's 2.25 And as you say, the goal expectancy here is 4.05. The goal line is 4. BTTS is just 1.45. Bayern to win is just 1.4. Yet the BTTS and Bayern to win is 2.25. It doesn't really correlate to me. No. So, yeah, I mean, the market's saying there's a 70% chance we could see both teams scoring, a 70% chance of Bayern winning, but around a 44% chance for the two combined. So, yeah, I mean, Dortmund have got Haaland fit and available. A couple of players missing defensively too, and just we've seen it all season really. Dortmund defensively just cannot cope with the better teams. So Bayern should win it.
Yeah, I thought the point there about Leipzig and the Leverkusen at the Signal doing that, like they were shredded there. And if they do that damage, then Bayern. One comment in from YouTube, I think it's quite prevalent one. I won't mention the name here just in case anyone gets insulted of the user on YouTube, but hope Dortmund scores first, then back Bayern in play. And Mark, it was last year that they went 2-0 up, Dortmund, and we had Bayern in that game. And it was a weird one in the sense that even when they drew 2, they got the second goal. I think Goretzka got the second one. Was it Goretzka got the third one? Lewandowski got. I think Lewandowski got the third one. Goretzka got the second. But even like 2-2 with 80 in the 85th minute, they got the goal in the 91st. We're just still very confident to win your bet because, like you said, you've just seen how this goes. And even if Dortmund score first, you're literally just got to back Bayern to win. Then that's it. So.
Yeah, there's a sense of inevitability about Bayern, particularly in these games.
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter when they fall behind. They've just got so much firepower and so much belief. I know it didn't work against Villarreal, but you got to credit Unai Emery for that. Whereas I'm not sure Marco Rosa's getting the same tune out of these players at the minute, and they're already big changes going to happen through the summer. So club needs a bit of an overhaul on the field. So I still think Bayern are streets ahead of Dortmund right now.
Yeah, absolutely does. All right, let's take a very quick recap just before we get the best bets of the selections to hand. So Arsenal versus Manchester United, over 2.5 goals at 1.9. Liverpool to beat Everton to 0. So that's actually up in both two different places on the site, but it's the same thing. Liverpool to win to 0 or Liverpool to win and both teams score no. Same thing, same price, 2.02 at matchbook.com. Both teams to score, Brentford and Tottenham at 1.8. And yes, Bayern to win and both teams to score, yes. So Bayern to win and obviously Dortmund to score 2.25, which is 5-4. Just before we get the best bet, if you're enjoying the content today and you're watching us on YouTube, I see a few people live in the studio there. Give us a thumbs up, click the subscribe button. And also, if you're listening to this in your preferred podcast app, please give us a preferential review if you're enjoying the content. That is all we ask. Also, just meant to make reference to one other thing. We normally offer a podcast double on site, but we won't offer this week with Adrian Clark away with the best bets. But if you want to back that Liverpool quadruple that we talked about at the top of the show, that is actually under podcast specials 11.0. Like I said, at every week with these, if you see that price better elsewhere on Sportsbook Exchange elsewhere, ping us on Twitter and we will boost that price up even further. 0% commission as well, and you can use the bonus code. All right, Mark, there was a lot of information there. Your best bet of this week is an interesting market. Back to the Premier League. Leicester are playing host to Aston Villa. Just take a look at the betting very quickly on this because I think it's an interesting market here. You can back currently Leicester at 2.86. They're the underdogs in this market. 2.68. You can back Villa. The draw available at 3.55. Leicester draw no bet. You can back at 2.0, which I think would be a popular one. This one. 2.5 is the goal line, slightly shade towards the over. And Mark, I know Vardy, I think Vardy's out for Leicester and they have one or two small injuries and Didi as well. But is this market kind of telling us, because Villa obviously coming off 4 losses on the bones, they haven't been impressive at all. Is the market just presuming that Leicester are just focusing completely on the Conference League or not giving any credit to the fact that they should be the favourites here, surely, no?
Yeah, I agree. And there's a couple of reasons why the price is what it is, and I think it's worth talking about them. But, Bayern were going to be my best bet of the weekend, but I just disagree with the pricing here. First off, yes, the main reason these prices are being driven are through performance data indicators. And over the course of the whole season, Aston Villa are rated higher than Leicester, despite what the league table says. But as we know, Leicester have had a huge amount of injuries through the season, defensively in particular. They have improved a lot lately. Once they got key players back fit and available. But the main reason really is Leicester played on Wednesday and they have to play again next Thursday. So it's a quick turnaround from Wednesday to Saturday, and they play Roma in the Conference League next Thursday. So Villa have had 2 weeks off, so they'll be well rested and prepared. So, worth pointing that out. Leicester will not say it publicly, but the European tie is their priority because it's an opportunity to get into Europe. but next season. And Rodgers has been resting and rotating quite a lot recently, basically fielding a weekend team and a midweek team. So the likes of Evans and Fofana played against Everton on Wednesday night, didn't play last weekend against Newcastle. 8 changes, 7 changes. So that's to bear in mind. But, this game's taking place on Saturday. The European tie is not till next Thursday. Jamie Vardy is actually training on Thursday with a view to being involved in some way against Villa as well. So there's a lot to like about Leicester. I think they have improved a lot of late, still have those issues defensively, but going forward, I think their attack is as good as anyone, really outside of the top 3, top 4 of the league. So I've got no qualms with their firepower. It's just defensively, if they can stay solid enough to take something out of this match, which I think they can be. And look, they should be favourites to win this match because Aston Villa, as you say, have lost 4 games on the spin. They've lost 6 of 9 going further back. They've only won 4 of 13 since Boxing Day. Yeah. They've lost more games than they've won under Steven Gerrard. And they've lost 10 of 12 trips to teams in 13th and above. Actually, Norwich and Everton are the only teams to have lost more away games than Aston Villa this season. And of the, what was I going to say? Sorry, Leicester's home record as well. They've won 8, drawn 3, and lost 0 when hosting teams outside of the top 5. So, we're talking about an April time. They've had a really wretched season with all those injuries, but they've still managed to churn out good results against the teams they're expected to. So I like Leicester here. You can back them with a quarter goal start at around 175, which really does appeal. It means we make money if they avoid defeat. Obviously, just bearing in mind that they might, or probably will, rest and rotate with Thursday in mind. But even still, I think the squad's good enough to cope and good enough to take something out of this game. I just think Villa are being overrated here, and the market has moved a little bit too far in their favour because of Leicester's priority list.
Yeah, look, for those listening to the podcast, and if you are new to the podcast, when Mark says plus a quarter of a goal, that'll appear on matchbook.com plus 0.0/0.5. The reason being you'll have half your bet on plus 0.0, which is draw no bet, and you'll have half your bet on plus a half, which keeps the draw inside, gets you 50% win there if it is a draw. So it seems a very solid selection. Currently trading about 1.73 at matchbook.com. And if I know these games as well as I do and Mark selections, that will most likely go off about 1.62. So the early bird will catch the worm and the value on that. All right, that's us done for another week. We'll be back next Thursday. Mark is away next week, so I'm just going to have Adrian like this kind of solo layout for the next week or two. The guys will be back, though, together, joining forces for the Premier League running. By the way, Mark has actually won his last 3 best bets, so I would very much take notice of that Leicester one. Mark, thanks for battling through. Much appreciated, mate. You'll be back on Monday with Jonathan Wilson for the Champions League. But for the rest of you guys out there, thanks for watching today. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back again next week. Best of luck with your bets. Insights.matchbook.com. You can check out full recap of the selections and details of our sign-up offer there. Best of luck, and goodbye for now.